call of breakers ahead always sent shivers down the spines of a ship's crew. They knew it usually announced the doom of their vessel and possibly themselves. From the 1600s until the late 1700s, vessels being pounded ashore here had little help from anyone else. That changed when the Humane Society of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts built one of its first houses of refuge at Scituate. By the time of the Great Portland Gale of 1898, there were several Humane Society boathouses, mortar stations, and houses of refuge in the town. In the latter part of the 1800s, beach carts equipped with the breeches buoy apparatus and a highly efficient line-throwing gun were added. The Humane Society used a cannon invented by Edmund Hunt to shoot a lightweight line from the shore into the rigging of a ship. In this room, you will see not only the Hunt cannon, but the Lyle gun as well. These stations were not manned, but when the call came, "Ship ashore," the Humane Society volunteers sprang into action. A century after the society was organized, the federal government established the United States Life-Saving Service. The first Scituate station was built at Hummerock in 1879. A second station was constructed at North Scituate in 1886. Government surfmen patrolled the beaches during the stormy months, keeping a watchful eye for a ship in distress. During July and August, only the station keeper was on duty. Surfmen weren't highly paid, and the job was dangerous, as indicated by their unofficial motto, "You have to go out, but you don't have to come back." Those on patrol during the Portland Gale of 1898 never forgot it. William Murphy described it simply, "All the devils of hell were loose that night." In 1915, the Life-Saving Service merged with the Revenue Cutter Service and became the United States Coast Guard. Much of their early work dealt with chasing rum runners. But in early February 1926, a raging blizzard drove the big lumber schooner Kenwood ashore at Cedar Point. Coast Guardsmen saved the entire crew. In 1956, the Coast Guard rescued the crew of the freighter Etrusco at Cedar Point. It was one of the last times the breeches buoy method was used on the East Coast. Back in the 1700s, Scituate mariners urged the federal government to build a lighthouse at Cedar Point. Finally, Congress took action in 1810 and appropriated $4,000. The new light came none too soon as the local fishing industry was growing rapidly. During the War of 1812, Scituate was invaded by the British twice. In June 1814, the English burned a number of vessels in the Scituate harbor. The local militia was on high alert throughout the early summer, but with no more trouble, interest waned. Then on the first day of September, the English returned. Only Abigail and Rebecca Bates, daughters of the lightkeeper, were at the lighthouse when they saw a British longboat approaching the harbor from an enemy ship. By playing a fife and drum, the two girls tricked the British into thinking the town's militia awaited them. The two girls became known as the American Army of Two. In 1827, the lighthouse was heightened by 15 feet. The photograph, taken in 1857, shows a remarkable resemblance to how the light looks today. However, this light was abandoned and the lantern room removed after the second Minot's light was activated in 1860. Over the years, the lighthouse fell into disrepair. In 1917, Scituate purchased the lighthouse from the federal government as an historic site. In 1994, the light was reactivated as a private aid to navigation, making it the oldest light in the country returned to service. Near the northern boundary of Scituate is Minot's Light. The first lighthouse constructed there in 1850 was of open construction, on iron legs. The rationale being high seas would simply wash through the structure. A year later, on April 16th, a fierce storm struck the South Shore. The two assistant keepers, Joseph Antoine and Joseph Wilson, were trapped at the light. Realizing they were doomed, they wrote a note, placed it in a bottle, and threw it into the raging sea. Be sure to read their chilling message on display here. Minot Light still warns mariners away from the dangerous ledges there. At one time, it had a Fresnel lens like the one on exhibit in this room. The light still flashes its famous signal of 143, spelling out for lovers, "I love you."